I thank the General Lady. General Lady yields back. Now I recognize Ms. Harshbarger from the great state of Tennessee for her 5 minutes of questioning.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. I want to thank you for speaking up for our kids. You know, if the examples against innocent children that you provided in your testimony do not give us members a righteous anger about this issue, then we just better check our very soul. And as a parent, and I know there's parents in the audience who have gone through this, and I am so sorry for you because it could happen to anybody. Don't ever think that you are exempt from this happening. Young people, you listen. If you read the testimony of what happened to these children, you probably wouldn't let them online, or you probably wouldn't get online. You know, as a parent, you try to make sure your child's safe and kept away from harm, but it's very clear as technology continues to accelerate just how difficult it is to protect your kids from these predators. And if you, listen, if they're sick, depraved, possessed, and dangerous criminals are what they are. And if you really, really want to know what I think they should do with these once law enforcement catches one, then you see me after this hearing is over, and I'll be happy to tell you what I think. I want to start with Ms. Souras. Your very powerful testimony gave horrifying accounts of children being preyed upon by adult sex offenders. With the data already available, how can platforms better identify users who are posing as children?
Thank you for the question. In every other industry, there is a concept of know your customer. It's what provides safety and compliance, and that simply does not exist online. It does not exist for social media companies. So, you know, that is certainly first and foremost. They need to know who's getting online, how they are registering, if they are representing themselves truthfully, whether they're an adult, whether they're a teenager. We've seen in some of these sextortion cases that individuals are creating profiles, you know, grown men, adult men are creating profiles indicating that they are a 15, 16-year-old girl. They're allowed to post photos and create a whole persona online that to a child, especially a child who's very trusting, who's only been online for a few years, seems very authentic. Yeah. So, you know, I would definitely say they need to know their customer. There needs to be transparency reporting around how social media platforms are accomplishing that task. And there also needs to be age assurance. I think all of us have touched on that issue a little bit, that there's still a lot to be determined around how best to effectuate that. But we need to create spaces for children online that are safe. You know, we allow children to get online, have private conversations 24 hours a day with whoever is online, exchange content, videos, and images. We would never allow that in real life. Yeah. So we need to understand the environment, and we need to work together to accomplish that.
Do you think this information could prove an asset for parents monitoring their child's online activity to ensure they're interacting with their peers and not some sick, perverted monster who deserves to be locked up until Judgment Day?
Absolutely. I think all of us, you know, agree that parents play a role here, but tech companies need to meet them, I would say, more than halfway. They need to provide tools that are comprehensible, that are easy, that are accurate, and they need to provide transparency so parents actually understand how the algorithms work and how the apps work.
You know, it's sad to say, though, that, you know, I interacted with middle schoolers and taught Sunday school for 24 years, and I used to say it was a fatherless society, but it's a parentless society in a lot of ways, and some of those children don't always have a parent who will protect them. I understand that the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children and law enforcement are interested in prioritizing quality of reports over pure quantity. And that one thing that's helped with that is bundling of reports. Could you tell us a little bit why that's so important, and how could we encourage more companies to do that?
Absolutely. So the process of receiving cyber tip line reports at NCMEC, really, if I can just give a brief explanation, we are operate the online reporting mechanism for reports regarding child sexual exploitation. So we are flooded with tens of millions of reports from social media companies, and then we provide those reports to law enforcement around the world, but of course domestically, federal and state, local law enforcement. There has been really, I would say, an issue in recent years as companies are increasing the volume of reports that reports that are really related regarding the same image, regarding the same incident, regarding the same time frame, have been reported one by one as separate reports.
Yeah.
That creates a tremendous burden for law enforcement. So we were very gratified this year that Meta, which is one of the larger reporters, it is certainly one of the larger social media companies, agreed to start bundling incidents that are related. It reduces the work burden and the time that law enforcement has to consume on those reports.
Okay, very good. And I think I'm over my time, so I yield back.